Hi, good time to all. Hope all are fine by the grace of God. Dear children, today let's learn a poetry. It's need to learn by 10th standard students, Kerala syllabus students. Dear children, we have learned what is meant by poetry and why should we learn poetry and its advantages in the previous classes. While learning Wordsworth's lines written in early spring. Okay, it was in the introductory part, explained regarding poetry and its advantages. If you want, you check that specific section and learn. So I won't repeat it again. Today, let's learn a poetry written by W.B. Yeats. My dear children, I hope you have heard about W.B. Yeats, the Irish poet. The Ballad of Father Gilligan is the poem title. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. What's the title, dear children? The Ballad of Father Gilligan. Okay, written by Irish poet W.B. Yeats. Before that, let's move to his profile. Okay, dear children?
William Butler Yeats, 1865-1939, is an Irish poet and one of the foremost figures of 20th century literature. In 1923, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for his inspired poetry. Yeats is one of the few writers who completed his greatest works after being awarded the Nobel Prize, which include the Tower 1928 and the Wintring's Chair and other poems 1929.
Dear children, read the profile well before learning the poetry. Okay? You must have a thorough knowledge regarding the poet. If you learn well, you will have a good knowledge regarding him, regarding the poet. Okay? Irish poet W.B. Yeats. Okay, let's move. W.B. Yeats was born on 13 June 1865 in Sandymount, Ireland. You got it, children? W.B. Yeats was born on 13 June 13, 13 June 1865 in Sandymount, Ireland, and died on 28 January 1939 in France. He was the son of a well-known Irish painter, John Butler Yeats. W.B. Yeats was an English language Irish poet, dramatist, prose writer, and one of the foremost figures of 20th century literature. He was an English language Irish poet, dramatist, prose writer, and one of the foremost figures of 20th century literature. You got it, children? In 1923, Yeats became the first Irish writer to receive a Nobel Prize for Literature. So, you got an idea about the poet's profile? W.B. Yeats' profile, dear children? Okay, let's. Dear children, the poem's title is The Ballad of Father Gilligan. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. You know what is meant by ballad? Have you heard about ballad? Dear children, ballad is a poem or song narrating a story in short stanzas. What's it? It's a type of poem or song narrating a story in short stanzas. Okay, that is a short poem tells a story in a simple language. You got it? A short poem tells a story in simple language, that is ballad. Ballad tells story in rhyme. Okay, you got it? What is meant by ballad? It's a poem or song narrating a story in short stanzas. There are three types of ballads there: folk ballad, broadside ballad, and a literary ballad. Okay, I just mentioned that. So, here we have a ballad to learn: the Ballad of Father Gilligan. Let's read the top part before starting the poetry, before reciting the poetry. Let's read the top part, what he has given. Go through the following poem, The Ballad of Father Gilligan, by W.B. Yeats, about Father Gilligan, who rendered selfless service to the poor and the needy in his parish. What's it? Go through the following poem, The Ballad of Father Gilligan, by W.B. Yeats, about Father Gilligan, who rendered selfless service to the poor and the needy in his parish. Dear children, here our poet Yeats talked about the priest's selfless service to the poor and needy people in the parish. We know that what is meant by selfless service. We are seeing that now around the world in this pandemic time, okay, and flood time too. Selfless service done by humans have kind minds, okay, divine minds. Really, it is God's mercy too towards us through humans, isn't it? Yes. During the pandemic time, many kind minds came forward and helped the needy people. We have seen that. Still happening, still processing that, okay? Like that, here the priest is so kind and selfless person. Dear children, the theme of this poem is God's omnipresence and grace in the lives of the faithful. You got it? What is the theme of this poem? God's omnipresence and grace in the lives of the faithful. Let's go through the poem and find what will be the details. Okay, dear children, let's go through the poem. Let's recite that. So, The Ballad of Father Gilligan by William Butler Yeats. Let's recite. The old priest, Peter Gilligan, was weary night and day, for half his flock were in their beds or under green swords lay. Once, while he nodded on a chair at the mother of Eve, another poor man sent for him, and he began to grieve. I have no rest, nor joy, nor peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God, forgive, my body spake, not I. He knelt and leaning on the chair, he prayed and fell asleep, and the moth hour went from the fields, and stars began to peep. They slowly into millions grew, and leaves shook in the wind, and God covered the world with shade, and whispered to mankind. Upon the time of sparrow chirp, when the moth's come once more, the old priest Peter Gilligan stood upright on the floor. Mavron, Mavron, the man has died, while I slept on the chair. He roused his horse out of its sleep and rode with little care. He rode now as he never rode, by rocky lane and fen. The sick man's wife opened the door. Father, you come again? And is the poor man dead? He cried. He died an hour ago. The old priest Peter Gilligan in grief swayed to and fro. When you were gone, he turned and died, as merry as a bird. The old priest Peter Gilligan, he knelt him at that word. He who had made the night of stars for souls who tire and bleed, sent one of his great angels down to help me in my need. He who is wrapped in purple robes with planets in his care, had pity on the least of things asleep upon a chair. Dear children, recite this poem many times, both ways, silent and loud ways. Children, this poem is written in the style of ballad with 12 stanzas of 4 lines. What's it? This poem is written in the style of ballad with 12 stanzas of 4 lines. It has 12 stanzas. Each stanza has. Let's recite the first stanza again. The old priest Peter Gilligan was weary night and day, for half his flock were in their buds or under green swords lay. Children, here we can see the old priest Peter Gilligan. What's the name of the priest? Peter Gilligan. He was an old priest. He was very night and day, means he was really tired all the time. Night and day, the full time, he was really tired. The old priest, Peter Gilligan, was tired all the time. He was very night and day. For half his flock were in their buds or under green swords lay. That is, half of his people are in deathbed, and some are buried under the ground. That means died due to sickness. Dear children, flock means parishioners, people in the church. Green swords means graveyard. Okay. So, the old priest Peter Gilligan was very night and day, for half his flock were in their buds or under green swords lay. Here we can see an old priest, Father Gilligan. He was really tired and he was really sad because his people, half of his people are in deathbed and some are buried under the ground due to sickness. You got it, the first answer, dear children? Weary means, the word weary means tired. Flock means parishioners, that is people in the church. Green sword means graveyard. Okay. So in the first stanza, we can read the old priest, Father Gilligan, was very tired. Why he got tired? Because he has done selfless service to his people all the time, night and day. What is the state of his people, dear children? Some are died and some are in deathbed due to sickness. You got the first answer? Can we move to the next one? Once while he noted on a chair at the mouth hour of eve, another poor man sent for him, and he began to grieve. What's it, children? Once while he nodded on a chair. That is, one day, a priest, he was so tired and nodded in a chair. Nodded means moving the head up and down because of deep sleep. Okay, it was so late time. So he was so tired and nodded in a chair. Another poor man sent for him, and he began to grieve. Means another man who is in deathbed call him. Okay, another poor man sent for him means another man who is in deathbed call him. That time the priest got so sad and sorrow became so sorrow. Grief means intense sorrow. So one day he was so tired. The priest was so tired and nodded in a chair. It was so late time. That time another man who is in deathbed due to sickness call him. Because of his tiredness, the priest became so sorrow. He began to grieve means the priest became so sorrowful. Okay. Got it, children, the second stanza? Once while he nodded on a chair at the mouth hour of eve. Mouth hour of eve means it's a late time. Okay. Mouth means inset. Dear children, after sunset, dusk time, we can listen some sounds from the insects. No, they will make some types of sound and they will arrive in our home. Okay, that the moth hour, the moth specify the time, that is evening time. Okay, that's why he was so tired because of his heavy duties, his religious duties. We know that his religious duties are physically. Let's move to the third stanza. I have no rest, nor joy, nor peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God, forgive, my body spake, not I. Dear children, in the second stanza, we have seen that he began to grieve, he began to cry, he began to lament. What was his lament? He doesn't have rest. I have no rest, nor joy, nor peace. He doesn't have. The poet laments like he doesn't have rest, nor joy, nor peace. He got so sad because of his parish people die, continuously dying. His parish people dying continuously. Here the poet laments like he doesn't have rest, no joy, no peace. He got so sad and lament because of his parishioners, because of his people die continuously. I have no rest, no joy, nor peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God forgive, my body spake, not I. My dear children, soon he recognized what he said. Soon the priest said sorry to God for saying such words. He requests God, he begs God to forgive him because of his words. He said that the words are spoken by his body, not by him. What he said, the words are actually by his body, not by him, not by his mind, because of his physical tiredness, telling such words that provoking him to talk such way. So, children, what's the third stanza says? I have no rest, nor joy, nor peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God forgive, my body spake, not I. What you got from this stanza? Here the poet laments like he doesn't have rest, joy, and peace. He got so sad because of his people die continuously. Suddenly he said sorry to God for saying such deep words. He begs God to forgive him because of his words. He said the words are spoken by his body, not by him. You got it? The third stanza, dear children. Let's move to the fourth one. He knelt and leaning on the chair, he prayed and fell asleep. And the moth hour went from the fields, and stars began to peep. What's the first stanza? He knelt and leaning on the chair, he prayed and fell asleep. Here the priest kneels down on the floor and leans on the chair. Okay, he leaned on the chair. He prayed and fell asleep. Actually, the priest kneels down on the floor to get forgiveness from God. He was regretted because of his words. Okay, he prayed and fell asleep, and the moth hour went from the fields, and stars began to peep. He was actually regretted because of his words, because of his complaints towards God. But we know that he was so tired. Due to his tiredness, he could sleep that time. Children, that time the insects have gone and the stars begin to appear. You got what is specified in the fourth stanza? Here the priest kneels down on the floor to get forgiveness from God because he has complained. In the third stanza, we are seeing that he said that he doesn't have rest, joy, or peaceful atmosphere for his people die continuously, and he complained. We have seen that he has complaints towards God because of his situation. And suddenly he recognized his words and he got repented. That we can see in the fourth stanza. He was so regretted because of his words, and he kneels down on the floor to get forgiveness from God. And the motor went from the fields and stars began to peep means that time the insects have gone and the stars begin to appear. You got what is specifying in the fourth stanza, dear children? So children, today we learned the introductory part of the poetry, the Ballad of Father Gilligan by W.B. Yeats and the poet's profile. Then we explained the first four stanzas. I hope you got that. So I am winding up the section here. Catch you soon with the remaining part. Till then, bye.